Hello everybody, welcome back to the GDQ Hotfix. This is Going Places. This is a show that looks at handheld games as well as region exclusives, and we have got a combination of the two today, which I'm very much looking forward to. We are going to be kicking off with some DS action of Resident Evil, that is Deadly Silence, which we have ready to go, but later on we are also going to have Flower, Sun and Rain, hence the strange sort of title that we've got for this for this particular event. But before we get into this episode, this show, just might as well say that we are not going to be here in 2 weeks' time, because we will be getting ready for Frame Fatales, which is the next all-women event. It's happening from August 21st to the 27th. So if you want to have a look at what's going on for that and what the schedule is going to be, then you can check that out on the Games Done Quick website. And then, just stick around after this as well, because we've got things going on almost all the time. We are going to be having the second episode of Think Fast, the brand new hot off the block speedrun show, which is a quiz show, speedrunning and quiz show. It's an interesting combination. But before we get into the two games that we've got here, second game is going to be a Japanese PlayStation exclusive. Now, a lot of folks might know about this thing here, which is a Dreamcast VMU. One bit of tech that they got over in Japan with the original PlayStation was this, a little pocket station, which I don't think it can be utilized with Flower, Sun and Rain, but thought it was neat nonetheless. But we're going to throw it over to Punchy, who is going to show us the ropes of Deadly Silence on the DS. Hello, Punchy.
Hello! Hi everyone, I am Punchy. This is Resident Evil Deadly Silence, or Biohazard as I'm playing the Japanese version. So I'm still on theme, I'm on theme with both things. Although this isn't a Japanese exclusive. Anyway, we'll be playing the classic mode. Rebirth mode adds a bunch of touchscreen gimmicks that make the run like twice as long, generally. And we're playing Chris Hard mode, or so it's claimed anyway. I'm not sure I actually believe that. Anyway, we'll get started in 3, and then I will go on to explain the many differences of the DS version. 3, 2, 1, video games.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Okay, so primary difference number 1. This intro cutscene? No, I have skipped it. You can skip cutscenes in the DS version. Funny enough, you cannot skip cutscenes in any other version of this game. Not a one. So that automatically makes this, like, the fastest version of the original. But also, there's a quick turn, which you can do by pressing back, and run, which isn't in any other version of this game, funny enough. They backported a lot of the quality of life improvements from other Resident Evil games into the DS port. Also, the top screen constantly shows the map, and also your health, technically. Alright, so first thing coming up here is a fun spot of randomness. We have to knife this zombie to get out of the way while I'm trying to push the statue. How many hits he takes to go down is random. 2. Do I have enough time to... Yes, I'm good. The amount of time it takes for him to get back up is also random, so sometimes he just gets back up almost immediately and starts chewing on your butt, which is not fun. But we got through it, so we're off to a good start here. Dodge around these dudes. You can also skip, room transitions by pressing A. The famous door opening sequences are none to be seen. Let's go meet Rebecca. Whoa! We've met Rebecca. That's what constitutes meeting.
Well,
and then Rebecca will talk at us. Sadly, cutscenes that end in a dialogue choice, of which there are exactly 2, remain unskippable. Although, a curio is that you can select dialogue options with the touchscreen.
It's pretty dangerous.
That is what I am doing right here.
Let me take care of it.
It's slightly faster.
For the uninitiated, how long is, a run of the original game compared to this? Because you mentioned all the quality of life improvements, which sound like it really speeds up the game. What's the difference between the two?
It's about around 5 minutes or so, which might not sound like a lot, but given the length of the run to begin with, it's like a fifth, really.
Okay.
Stand here, dodge around. That dodge is actually really hard. Nailed that.
Nice.
Now let's do a glitch. Fun glitch, you don't see this in the other one. Turn around, press knife, quick turn. Oh, and I'm through, it was that easy. Skip the chemical, get the key. Oh, maybe not. Hang on. I got knocked away. Try again. Do it again. With the exact lineup, you can get through this without having to take the chemical and use it to burn away the tentacles. You can just run on through, pick up the key,
Nice.
And get back out. There we go. Second try. Let me out. There we go.
What do you mean? What do you mean? That was first try. Everybody saw you do that first try.
First try. And I got through the first try, I just didn't get the key. Slip by this guy, and I'm going to unlock this door and never go through it. We simply unlock that door so it gets rid of the key automatically later on, because keys in this game are automatically discarded when you open all of their corresponding doors. We never actually need to go into the room that key opens. So it's an inventory management thing. Collect the musical score. And sadly, Chris cannot read. Pitiful.
Okay.
You can also menu in this game and use items with the touchscreen, which again is a little faster than other versions where you have to sort of manually do it by pressing buttons.
Me, Chris.
But it does mean you have to play this game with the stylus in your hand at all times while also gripping the DS, so ergonomics are a problem here. It is your foe.
Ah, it's the Moonlight Sonata.
Can you play?
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier that you sort of tried to counteract that a little bit. You've got a little. We can see the webcam. You've got a useful grip there.
I bought a second-hand plastic hand grip to slip onto my 3DS so that it's a bit less painful to run this game. When I first tried to pick up and learn this run, doing it for more than like an hour and a half at a time would actually give me like hand pain.
Oof.
It was like not good. It'd be like aching after a bit, and I was like, this is not good. What can I do about this? And someone recommended, buy this hand grip, and I was like, I'll give it a try, and it actually makes a surprisingly large difference.
Yeah.
Wait,
Speedrunners got to take care of their hands, you know.
My interpretation is off a little. Chris, may I practice for a while?
We're going to let Rebecca practice the piano
see? Just
in the middle of a zombie-infested mansion.
All right.
I don't know why it even gives you the choice. You kind of have to let her do this, otherwise the game doesn't progress. But regardless. Right, now we need to fiddle around while Rebecca finishes practicing her piano. The prompt for Rebecca to finish practicing the piano and be able to play the Moonlight Sonata properly is actually sort of like distance, as it were. It's like number of rooms away from the piano room. So we're going to exit to the main hall here real quick, and then immediately turn around and go back in, because that counts. That's far enough away.
Maybe she's practicing for an exam or something.
While she's busy playing, I'm going to attend to other errands. Bye. Slip past that guy. Stick a jewel in a tiger's eye. The classic puzzles. Stylus in mouth. Somehow I don't think that would work. Give it a try though, chat, I implore you. Dodge this guy around the left side. These dodges are all, like, consistent if you do them the right way. There are, like, random elements later, but these are all execution. Rebecca has finished playing the piano, opening the secret room. Let me get the gold emblem. But oh no, the door closes when you take the gold emblem. You replace it with wood emblem. Puzzles! And that actually takes us to the first quote-unquote boss encounter. You can actually get through this game rather quickly, and you know the critical points. I mean, that's speedrunning for you, but still. Use the gold emblem here. You get the shield key. This opens exactly one door in the whole game, and it's where the mini-boss is located. I say mini-boss because, like, you don't actually have to fight it, so indeed we're not going to. As Chris currently has no guns. He only has knife. And in fact, that will remain the way for most of the run. Oh, got it. Nice. That sort of run left, wait 2 beats, go. You sort of have to, like, time it in your head. So far, so good. We must cover up the holes in the floor so they don't spew poison gas into the room, although it's funny because it's sort of camera relative, so as long as the camera can't see them, it's okay. So this statue doesn't actually have to be over the one in the back there because of the camera angle. If you can't see it, it can't hurt you. That's how poison works. Like the sun crest, because right now we're trying to collect the 4 crests so we can open the back door. That's more or less the objective of the first half of the game. And now we're going to fight, well, run past, more like. Yawn, a very large snake. This is a critical dodge. If you mess this up, the rope takes a bit of a turn. I have a backup in mind, so rest assured, but I would prefer to just get it.
Ooh, good luck.
Dun, 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 go. Yep, good, got it.
Nice.
Ran clean past. That's another thing where you just kind of have to, like, count a couple beats in your head and then go. Alright, now let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out. Ah, it's gone left. What a weirdo. Good enough, though. Alright, no bite. If you get bitten there, you're guaranteed to get poisoned, then you pass out on the way out, and you wake up in the downstairs, like, save room in the West Wing. You do get a free health refill out of it, though, so it's not all bad, but it is, like, slow. You gotta remember where you're going at that point. But it's better to just not. Better to just get it. Now we only have one more crest we need to get, and that's in the iconic picture puzzle room. Yep, and now this key is discarded. It's the one we used to unlock the other door earlier, thus freeing up an inventory space to collect exactly what we need. It's all routed. Dogs, dogs, dogs. Okay, got through. Dogs are random, so I try and, like, bob and weave there to avoid getting bit.
Got somebody pointing out that yawn is a cute name for a giant killer snake, and I feel inclined to agree.
It rather is. I don't know where the name comes from, actually. It must be in one of, like, the lore documents. Yes, this puzzle, we have to hit buttons on paintings in accordance with the progression of life. So the first one's like a baby, and then you go to, like, a boy, and then a tired old man, and what have you. I have memorized this by simply memorizing the first word of each of them. And that's the puzzle. Don't need to memorize whole sentences. That's for people who are actually competent at this language. Go. Alright, now we're going to do a knife cancel. Run forward, pull out the knife, and then pause the game immediately after making contact so that you can just run on by. Excellent. Got through. So that is also a version difference of Deadly Silence, is that the knife is always equipped at all times. You don't have to specifically have it in your inventory. It doesn't have to be equipped to your, like, held item slot. You can, hold down L at any time, and the character will always pull out the knife. This is good, because Chris, you know how on the starting screen it marks Chris as hard mode? Well, Chris has two benefits. He has more health, like a lot more, actually. Meaning he's more able to go toe-to-toe with enemies with the knife, because in straight exchanges, he will probably be able to win damage races. And secondly, he actually does more damage with the knife than Jill does. Chris has that advantage. Also, Chris's weaponry is just sort of harder to get a hold of for him. Like, the only bigger gun he really gets access to is the shotgun, and that requires you to solve, like, a whole puzzle. So it's faster to just go without and bet on knife. Whereas Jill gets pretty quick access to the grenade launcher. So she has that going for her. Okay, now we're in the outside area. There's snakes here that can poison you. They're pretty easy to run past in this version, though. On Remake, that's a lot more difficult to do.
No, I know it's the age-old question, and some people have noticed. You're running this game on Japanese at the moment. Is there a particular reason for doing so? Does it save time, or is it just because you happen to have that version of the game? Or
all of the above. It does save time in this game. Ooh, I aggroed dogs early. In this game, it does in fact save time because of characters scrolling across the screen. There's just less of them in Japanese, so faster. The age-old reason why games are faster in Japanese, typically. Although I do also have this version just because it's cheaper. Cheaper than English.
Understandable. Understandable.
Alright, this dodge is a tricky one. You kind of want this guy to move out of the way, so we'll wait here in this location for a beat or two, and run out, and hopefully that guy moves. Yep, just about. Just about.
Smooth.
Lovely. That's very hard, and if that goes wrong, it becomes a problem really quickly. Because you get chain grabbed. Because a thing they added to later Resident Evil games that is not present in either this port or the original RE1 is that when you get bitten and push down a zombie, it would push down every zombie in like a radius in like 2 onwards. This is not the case in the original. You will only push down the one zombie that's biting you, meaning if there's another one right next to you, you get bitten by them. And then they keep biting you. And then they keep biting you. And then you've lost all your health. It is perfectly possible to get comboed from, like, 100 to 0 as a consequence of that.
Oh no.
Now here's a fun thing. Only one push needed to access the ladder there for each bookcase. I think that's like a frame rate thing on the PC version for some reason, but it just sort of works on DS. Very minor differences. I'm actually not, like, super well acquainted with the run of the more common PC version of this game. This is the only version of this game I run. Sometimes I get asked about the fine details of the differences between the two kinds of run, and I'm just like, I'm not actually entirely sure, like, particular dodges and what have you. Like, does this still work? Does that still work? I'm just like, I don't always know. I know sometimes, but not all the time. DS expert, but nothing else. That... Oh, Chris. Stuck on box.
I don't know about the development of this game at all, but it seems like almost a bit of a no-brainer when you think of, you know, what era the original game came from and the DS hardware sort of complementing that. And I know the way that we're seeing it on stream is that, you know, the DS screen's a little bit bigger than what we'd see, you know, on an actual DS, but visually, like, this game looks really impressive on the DS.
Yeah, it's a pretty good port, honestly. My favorite version of the game. I'm playing it super safe and taking a heal here. Because the upcoming boss fight that we actually fight against Plant 42 is completely random. There's no strategy to it. I'll play it super safe by going in with the maximum health possible. And we should be fine. But it's like, it's a hilariously brute force strategy that is employed for that boss fight. Like, wow, you really just run at it and hope it works? Yup. Alright, we've drained the water. Oh yeah, there was a killer shark running. We never actually saw it, I kind of ran straight through. There was a killer shark in the waters, but if you go straight to the room, it's fine, you never actually see it. There it is. Bye. We make our way out of the guardhouse. And to the room where we fight Plant 42.
What happened to all the other plants? That's what I want to know.
They're all over the place. It's like those tentacles grabbing you. Oh.
Ah.
Use the red book. Alright, Plant 42. This, like I said, the strategy for this one is there isn't one. The strategy is run in, hold knife, hope it dies before you do. There's nothing more complicated to it than this, and there never has been. So you just have to hope it doesn't smack you around a whole bunch. Like that. Rude. I'm in. I'm out. I'm in. I'm out.
He's in. He's out.
I'm not gonna see. This is the problem.
This is brutal. Good grief.
Yikes. See, when this goes well, nothing happens. You just run in and knife it to death, and you smile and laugh. And when it goes wrong like this, you spend however long getting smacked around. Chris, how are you whiffing at this range? I'm practically inside of him. There we go. Okay, that's phase one. It's actually faster to leave the room and come back in than wait for the animation for phase two.
Nice.
So we come back in, and this is phase two. Phase two is mercifully generally easier because he's got less tentacles. But the strategy remains unchanged. We just kind of run in and hope it doesn't kill you. Oh, this is looking good. See? 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 Didn't even touch me that time. Not even close. That's how well it can go.
Smooth.
But okay, got through without dying, and that's really all I care about. We heal up after that fight if you're in anything resembling, like, a slightly unhealthy state, because there's a free first aid spray you can grab on the way out. If you were, like, really going for, like swinging for the fences, trying to get the best time possible, I guess you wouldn't. But I'm currently, like, the console record holder for this game, and my PB does still take both of them. Like, in theory, if you get, like, a really flawless Plant 42 and he never touches you, then you just wouldn't need to grab it. But you will need at least one first aid spray, because there is a similarly brute force method applied to the next boss, which we are now en route to fight. We've claimed another mansion key that gives us access to more rooms of the house, and the only thing we're going to use it for is opening another door to fight another boss. We are simply making every monster in the house is our problem, all of them. We are making a thing about it. Get up the ladder, Chris. Come on. Alright, every time we pass through these rooms with the dogs, it is an uncertain endeavor, as their starting position is random, their aggro range, like, what they decide to do, you never know. And dog bites actually do a surprisingly high amount of damage. So getting bitten by them can mess up health routing rather quickly. But I got through, it's cool. Cutscene happens, I have skipped it. Hunters are now in the house, thus replacing all zombies. And hunters are fast and very dangerous. I would like to not be near them. Yes, got it. I skipped that cutscene so fast that there was one frame where Chris was lying on the floor. I don't know why that happens. It has a nap real quick.
He's been on his feet for a while. Poor guy.
He's so tired.
Just needs a...
meaningless thing. Like, doesn't save any time to do that, but it just amuses me. So I like
I'm gonna
getting
take a nap.
Run by this guy. Ooh, rude. He woke up quickly. That's okay. One slash doesn't do too much damage. Managing health is naturally fairly important over the course of this run. Right, we are now fighting Yawn 2. He is triggered by Chris attempting to look at another piano, I guess. Yawn arrives to stop us, as they know now that we cannot read sheet music and are therefore completely incapable of playing the piano properly. So the strategy is we pull out the knife, do nothing, take one hit on purpose, and then begin to trade blows. So we're in the corner right now. This looks like a bad position. And we trade some health. But eventually, after this hit, the head comes down, it pushes us out, and now he's stuck in the corner. What a fool! Ha ha ha! And then he's dead. We move on.
Nice.
So that setup is consistent and works every time, as long as you press the buttons in the right order. He'll inexplicably push you out of the corner, and then he gets stuck in the corner.
It's always good to bamboozle a boss.
Hide the right wall here, get that dodge. The margin of error for that is a lot smaller than it looks, but it's not so bad. Right, as a consequence of that brute force method, but effective method, is that I'm now on yellow health. So still doing okay, but a little damaged. Another knife cancel here. Pull out, stab that guy, pause, because pausing resets Chris to neutral while enemies remain in hit stun so we can run by. That actually works in the original as well. Like, that works in every version of this game, but it was faithfully ported to this one as well. And we grab the battery, which we need to operate the outside elevator. Mind this guy on the floor. He is in fact alive and will bite your ankles. Cutscene of a zombie breaking into the kitchen, and left a bit, and then go. Every time. These are the consistent dodges, and thankfully I'm getting the consistent dodges. The inconsistent ones I'm worried about. This dodge, go a bit right and then go left? Or just run through straight right, I guess. I don't know, he pushed me forward. Never mind.
Nice.
It still worked. Go me.
All part of the plan.
And now we're gonna take the gun. Jill's gun, in fact. It has been lying there since the start of the game. They kind of expect you to take it straight away, but like, nah, I don't need it. I only need knife. But no, I will need it later. The dogs in this room have been replaced with spiders. The spiders are kind of big, so you can use them to sort of push you forward if they land on you. This guy, you always get sliced there. If there's a way to dodge that slice, I don't know what it is. Dodge this guy, turn a little left. Excellent. And back outside we go. And now engage in the random element of not getting bitten by a bunch of dogs. Where's the second dog? He's over there. Good for him. Yeah, the dogs are the most unpredictable element of this run by like a landslide. So this section around here, this and Plant 42 like decides runs, I think.
Is that because they just spawn in different areas?
They spawn in different areas, they look in different directions, they sometimes aggro when you start running, and sometimes they couldn't be less interested, so much like an actual dog.
Ah. I
Like
mean,
this time, like they're not paying attention. I'm free ride. See you later.
faithful to the source material.
Yeah, so like that was completely free. Like the dogs paid no attention to me at all. But sometimes there's a dog like standing directly in front of the battery compartment. Okay, so this guy's kind of near me. I'm gonna walk slowly past him, such as to not irritate dog, and then start running. Yeah, so that was good because they aggroed very late.
Ah, okay.
It was a little slow, but it was safe.
Nice.
No bite. Looking good so far. Alright, now on the way out, this is the one where you just gamble. Like, you just start running, you can't avoid picking up dog aggro. Because if one dog aggroes, all of them in the room aggro at once. Even this one behind the wall here. But he got stuck on the wall. He's bad at games. Later.
I was about to say, it looks like you've done pretty well going through
He's
that.
bad at games. Noob. Uh-oh. I was kidding. No, it's fine.
Nice.
He was next to me. Okay, no, I got through that without getting bit. That's actually extraordinarily lucky.
Nice.
That was very good luck. Alright, now this is the hardest dodge in the game. At least I think so. The one with the most punishing penalty for messing it up. Good, got it. Get the crank. Excellent. Oh, smashing. Excellent. Right, so the problem with that dodge is that if you don't successfully get to the crank and pick it up before the second guy approaches you, they'll keep hitting you out of your attempts to pick it up. You'll get hit out of the animation over and over again, and this can very easily combo you to death.
Oof.
Very easily. This is like where one of my backup saves is as a result. Because I've very much accounted for the possibility of completely bombing that and dying. But nope. Got it in one.
Yeah, didn't need to. Nice.
Practice works. I also used my heal there despite only being in yellow health because I need the inventory slot at this point. At this point, if you still have a healing item in your inventory, you gotta spend it. You don't got any more room. Your inventory is full.
I love Indiana Jones. This is great.
Get the flamethrower. The flamethrower will not in fact be used as a weapon, but will be used as a key. Don't mind this guy. Alright, so another optional boss, Black Tiger. You deal with this by slicing the webs on the door, and then, well, attempting to evade getting spat on anyway, because that can poison you sometimes, which would be inconvenient. But the poison can also knock webs off the door like that, and then we got through. Excellent, no poison. It's not guaranteed to poison you, and in fact, it's not even particularly likely. Like 30% or something. But in, like, truly swinging for the fences like world record attempts, you just kind of keep slicing the webs and tank the damage. Chris has lots of health. You risk getting poisoned, you just kind of hope it doesn't happen. But since it's a marathon run, I'd rather not, like, make it that much more tricky. You can still finish the run if you get poisoned, it's not run over. But it makes it harder. And Resident Evil 1 is the kind of game where if you die, you go back to title screen, no beans for you, you lose. So I'd rather not tempt fate.
We've got chat wondering, this originally came out on the DS. Are you playing on original DS, or...?
I'm playing on a new 3DS XL.
Ooh, nice.
The fancy one. No real reason, just my DS doesn't have a capture card. I'm told there are actually load time differences between different models of DS, but as soon as I heard this, I just kept hearing static noise and blacked out because I couldn't be bothered to deal with it. So I don't actually know what the differences are.
That is respectable. I would not want to open that can of worms at all.
Like, no, dude, getting a DS capture card is alright. Like, this is like bespoke hardware. These are not easy to get.
Yep.
You think I care about the load time differences? Nah, man, I ain't stressing.
Yep.
Okay, now we are inspecting the books we picked up because they got medals in them, which we can use to drain the courtyard fountain. I wish you could turn the items in 3D space using the stylus, but somehow you can't. You gotta use D-pad for that.
Huh.
It's the kind of interface where it really feels like you should be able to do that. But you can't. I don't know. Not that it matters much. Just a thought that, like, bounces around my skull. Okay, now we're in the labs. And I'm even at full health. Well, slightly below full health. I got hit once. It's fine, though. Plenty of health. There's actually not much call to get hit very much in the labs. The labs are sort of a less risky area than the guardhouse, if you ask me. Now, this guy, he looks very scary, but all he can do is puke.
Ew.
He had too much to drink last night, but he'll never hit you as long as you don't stand directly in front of him. And now we must log on to computer. I love logging on to computer. Oh yeah, minor version difference, because I get this pointed out to me all the time. You cannot skip the umbrella logo startup in the DS version. Whenever I run this game, people always say, you know you can hold down start and it skips the logo, right? You can't do that in the DS version, it doesn't work. Developed a complex about this. Now, check out this alphabetical keyboard, by the way. It is extremely cursed.
Oh my goodness. I hate it. It's not even laid out like that on the... Well, I mean, we can't really see all too much of it, but on the below screen, it looks like a
No, it's
standard
different.
WASD
It's a completely
keyboard.
different keyboard.
Why would they do this?
Guess we simply need to log on using the username John, password Ada, and then we type in mole, and then, as soon as you see the floor plan, then you can quit out. If you quit out before that, it doesn't go through properly. And that unlocks this door up here, which is the only door we need to mess around with in the labs. That's also one of the reasons... Actually, that's another point of the DS version being faster, is being able to input the panel, the keyboard code there by touch, rather than having to use a controller. It is technically faster. In a very minor kind of way, but faster it is. Alright, let's dodge, ride the wall. Excellent. Looking good. A sharp turn around here to dodge this guy. Smashing. And left, then turn right to avoid that Chimera swing. There's now Chimera enemies around. They're kind of only in this room. But they hang around on the ceiling. And, ooh, that guy's further left than expected. They kind of strut around with purpose. They gotta watch what they're doing. Left side will work here. Yep. You gotta be a bit dynamic in your dodges, but it's not too difficult. Learn the layouts. We have restored power to the building. At least I think we did. I didn't actually read the text properly. Probably should have. Ooh. That's okay, got the second backstep. You're supposed to sort of backstep a little bit there so they whiff their attack. So they don't do too much damage. Not too punishing if you miss one. We head to the basement. That's the wrong thing. You have to touch the button next to the elevator, not the elevator itself. Skip cutscene, skip this cutscene, skip this cutscene, skip this cutscene, skip this cutscene. And then we fight Tyrant! We are actually going to use gun. 1, 2, run on by. He does his little swing. Tyrant only needs about... Run on by. Oh, I got through. Oh, I'm stuck on the key. The key has a hitbox in this version. Tyrant only needs about... Whoop, we trade. Not even trade. I got him before he got me. Tyrant needs about 12 shots to kill in this version from the handgun. I think this differs between versions, but I'm not actually entirely sure. Anyway, that went well. I dodged around well. I got the shots off. It's a positioning thing. You don't want to get, like, stuck in a corner against him. And that's the only time we use a gun to kill an enemy. Oh, this guy's strutting with purpose. Look at that strut. Don't grab me. Thank you. Oh, stuck on the railing. No, don't go for it. He's too far left. There's obviously a tighter line you can take to that door there, but he was too far left for that to work. I would have gotten bitten if I tried. We are coming up on the end of the run here. Like, Tyrant was actually technically the final boss of this run. You shoot him to death and he falls over. And time will be coming up after I use this final item, the flare. It's actually gone pretty smoothly. And time.
Nice. GG.
That went very smoothly, honestly. Alright, what was IGT? Let's see what game time is. It should be roughly equivalent with real time, though. Counts loads and what have you. 33:14, not bad!
Nice.
Pretty
We are just
good.
up on 11 seconds on this side. It looked like a 33:25 for us.
What a tough guy! Tough guy. Tough guy. Maybe not.
Look at him. What a tough guy.
I unlocked the rocket launcher. Great. Yeah, that was Resident Evil Deadly Silence, a different take on classic Resident Evil, featuring little touchscreen gimmicks, little quality of life changes. It's a good version of the game, I think, and a fun run. I would like to recommend it as a run, as I think it's honestly the most fun version of the original RE1-2 run, what with not having to sit through cutscenes every time you do it. But I understand that DS capture is not a thing everyone just has lying around, you know?
Nice. And if people were interested in trying this out, whereabouts can they find the resources and maybe a community that could help them out?
I think it's just in the normal Resident Evil Discord, actually. Like, there's like a big one for the classic games and such. That would be on like every classic Resident Evil games speedrun.com page. It's like a whole thing. Resident Evil community is quite big, and I'm a very small part of it.
Nice. Speaking of you being a part of it, if people want to find more of whatever you do, where can they find you?
I am at twitch.tv/punchy and at succinctpunchy on Twitter. If you would like to follow me there, I would very much appreciate it. I will be playing more DS games on my stream in the near future, as I have to practice a certain Japanese to English translation speedrun for a different marathon soon. DS horror games are apparently my specialty. It's my thing now. I have a thing.
Hey, someone's got to do them. Someone's got to do them. All right. Well, thank you so much for showing that game off. And yeah, just very appreciative. We are going to be heading into an intermission, and then we are getting to the part of the sort of what inspired the interesting title that we've got for this show. It's a bit of variety. We are heading on over to the PS2, where Adrian VG is going to be showing off Flowers, Sun, and Rain. Do you know what that's all about? Punchy, have you heard about this game at all?
Vaguely. It's one of the, like, Silver Case games, isn't it? I think it's like a Suda-directed joint.
Yeah, it's a Suda title.
I'm more familiar with Twilight Syndrome. It's like the thing he made, I think, slightly after Flower, Sun, and Rain. I've never played it. Never got around to it.
Well, folks, if you are interested, then please do stick around. We're going to have a short break, and then we'll be with you. So make sure you take a moment, you can get stretched, get hydrated, and yeah, see you in a sec.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Hello everybody, welcome back to Going Places. This is the GDQ Hotfix, where we show off handheld games as well as region exclusives. I like to describe this almost like a travel show. We're going around the world to different places where games didn't quite get a wide release, and we might not have seen them before, as well as the games that we would take on our travels on handheld consoles. We had Resident Evil Deadly Silence to begin with, courtesy of Punchy. If you missed that, or if you missed anything that might tickle your fancy from the previous hotfixes this week, or just any other time, these all go up onto our YouTube channel on, well, the Games Done Quick YouTube channel, so you can check them out there. And if you are on the YouTube channel at the moment, hello. We stream all of these on Twitch, so if you want to catch things as they happen, as they're going live, then you can find us over here. Just a quick heads up about what other events we've got going on. I mentioned Frame for Towers earlier. which is happening from August the 21st to the 27th. We've also got the One and Done-a-thon, which is coming up on the 13th and the 14th of August, which is a marathon where you can show off your favorite run, but that's the only appearance that you can make in the One and Done-a-thon. So the schedule is out. If you want to find out what the schedule for that is, you can use !OADAT in the Twitch chat to learn more. I think I have done enough talking. We are going to find out what's going on with Flower, Sun, and Rain. Hello, Adrian.
Hello. Think we're already here, right?
I think we are.
All right, so just briefly introduce myself. Hello, everyone. I'm Adrian VG. I call myself a Suda51 streamer. I stream the games of Suda51 from the very small but very respectable studio Grasshopper Manufacture. In practice, though, that means I mainly do Killer 7 and No More Heroes. But of course, I do stream some other games now and again. And this is Flower, Sun, and Rain. This is Grasshopper Manufacture's second game. It's not Suda51's second game, but this was their second game after forming Grasshopper Manufacture. And it's an interesting one. This is the PS2 version, and this version only released in Japan. A DS version released internationally, I believe in 2010, 2011. A little fuzzy on those details. We'll get into the differences a little later. This is of a studio and a developer known for genre-pushing, medium-pushing games. This is one of the more eclectic, and that's saying something. So I will count down now. 3, 2, 1. Let's jam.
Let's go.
Thank you very much. And alas, we'll get into the one difference that I lament. Before every chapter, when it shows you the opening title, most of them are the names of pieces of music. This is simply, the basic Welcome to Flower, Sun, Rain. There's a long load time. And thanks all for the good luck in chat. We get our first peek of Lost Pass Island, the setting of this game. And not the first Suda game to start off with our main character driving in. Certainly won't be the last. This is Sumio Mondo, our protagonist. He's going to explain who he is in a second. He's going to give us a bit of a monologue breaking the fourth wall. He is a searcher and, well, he finds things. That's what searchers do, obviously. And he's been called to this island to search for something, but he doesn't exactly know what he's searching for yet. And we'll get there when we get there. And if you're a fan of a lot of classical music or a lot of classic jazz, a good portion, if not like more than half of this game's soundtrack, is of classic jazz and classical music, and that is Gershwin's Cuban Overture. A lot of Gershwin in this game.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Right, so a lot of text mashing. And yep, he's introducing us. He's telling us, he's Sumio Mondo. He's a searcher. He can find anything. His work is flawless. The name of his car is Gigs. He's named his car. It's a Toyota Celica. A car that only true connoisseurs can appreciate.
True. So true.
I'm not a car person, so I'll take him at his word.
Oh, is that what he says? Oh, that's brilliant.
At least so I guess I have to put the asterisk. Well, the English version, it's the DS version. The DS version is in English. So I'm going to assume, from my understanding, the script is pretty close. So I will of course assume that he is in fact saying the same things for the most part.
I know we've only seen a few scenes, but good grief, I love how this game looks and its art style. It's just, there's something about it.
It's actually quite different from Suda51's earlier work, especially the game before this, the Silver Case. And that game is meant to be, it's more of a hard-boiled crime sort of game. And this game is both literally and figuratively a sort of vacation from that. We're going to this Micronesian island. This is Lost Pass, a Micronesian island. We're getting summoned for a special duty by the hotel manager. A lot of this game talks about, vacation, but also sort of like escapism. That's something that you see a lot in No More Heroes, actually. Escapism, what's paradise. this paradise isn't exactly a paradise. There's that sort of seedy underbelly, which we'll see some of. Right, parked, and we finally get to move.
God, I imagine if you were doing sort of full-on attempts for this game, a 3-minute opening number, I imagine it might get a bit tedious come the reset.
Yeah, well, I'm not one to necessarily reset too much. I tend to be the kind of person who will, unless there's a really bad mistake in the first, 5 minutes, I tend not to reset too much with it. This is a pretty, I wouldn't say it's the super easy run. It's pretty, it sort of imitates the game. It's kind of breezy, but there's that sort of seedy underbelly to it. You can make mistakes. We'll actually get to another bit that makes resetting a bit harder. So we're meeting with our liaison here. This is Peter Bach-Winker. He works for the commission or something, and he wants us to prove who we are. So, of course, we're once again talking to the fourth wall. He finds this Peter guy a little bit unsettling. He wants us to prove who he is by connecting to his eye. And he's explaining our partner is that briefcase he's holding, Catherine. And so, we're partners. We can't be separated. So now we are invoking Catherine.
Of course.
And there we go. That's the invocation. And here's another major part. It's besides all the walking and dialogue, got these puzzly bits. If I could read my own notes. So he wants us to prove what our birthday is. And here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that every single Flower, Sun, and Rain runner has the exact same birthday? It's the optimal date of November 11th. Who knew?
That's right.
I know, it's such a great coincidence. So now that we have connected into his silver left eye, we should be ready, but alas, the gate is still closed. So we have to figure out the problem here. There's this strange looking column with an upside down baby or something on it. And one of the more famous lines in this game, in the English version, I'm not quite sure, I think they did fiddle with the script here just out of pragmatic reasons, but whenever you start a puzzle, he says, "I'm getting that DS feeling."
Strange.
There we go. That's what happens when you read your own notes. You select the right jack at the right time.
Nice.
So this puzzle solution is easy. Upside down baby, it's our birthday. Upside down, our birthday backwards.
Nice.
Admittedly, on the DS version, which took a bit of a visual hit, it's a little hard to tell that that's supposed to be a baby. But fortunately, if you do fail a puzzle, the character, or either Sumio himself or the character you're talking to, will sort of make a comment to themselves, being like, "Oh, here's a hint. I wonder what that helps, what that does." And of course, we find out that was actually a test. He wanted to see if we were the real deal. He was testing us ahead of time before we meet our client, Edo McAllister. And we can't take our car because, alas, this is a Micronesian island paradise. We can't have any regular car go through it for safety reasons.
Somebody's pointed out in chat that it would be very amusing if he said, "I'm getting that PS2 feeling."
All right, a little bit of a last conversation with Peter. A big part of this game is mashing, and I think, honestly, to improve your time, you need to be good at mashing. I've been doing some practice, obviously, to prepare for the run, but yeah, I lose a lot of time on poor mashing, so I have to be careful here.
Have you only got one key to mash, or have you got sort of several that you can?
It's funny. So originally, I was just mashing with the circle button, But I learned quite literally last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, that you can mash with L1 or R1. Like L1 and R1 are confirm as well. I didn't learn that till like 2 weeks ago. And
That's a really strange combination of
and
buttons
L2
as well.
or R2, they also are cancel, which is weird. I didn't know that. But so now we are on the hotel premises. So this category is escape hotel premises. This is a partial game category. A full game category is 5.5 hours long, and that is, of course, more than a handful. So I believe it was another runner another runner who decided on this, Sylvan Ed, Nate, as he's known in the community, shoutouts to Nate, came up with the great idea of escape hotel premises, which is not beat the game, but simply just leave the yard of the hotel. And here we are in the Flower Sun Rain, and this is who is employing us. This is Edo McAllister. And anybody who has played Killer 7 in the audience, this is the guy who shows up at the beginning of the last chapter in Smile. This is not the last time we will see this character.
Are they all tied in? Is there like a pseudo cinematic universe?
Yes and no. Even at the time, Suda was saying things like, I'm creating this world, but part of it is that they're for different companies. The links have been explicit in different ways, especially in the past few years, but it's a matter of, he doesn't have the rights to everything. Grasshopper is a small studio. So essentially the answer is yes, but sometimes we have to say no. And he's telling us a bit about the island. This is the Lost Past Island, like I said. It's a combination of two words, lost and past. Apparently, this island had lost its past. And now, when we're coming up to our room, he is telling us why we're actually here. We are here to search for a bomb. Apparently, there is a terrorist on the island, and we're a terrorist at the airport. There's a bomb at the airport. So he has hired us to search for it, because we are the best searcher around. And with that, he's introducing us into our room. And we've done a lot of good running about 10, 11 minutes in, so what better than a 5-minute intro video?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's a go on.
The premise of this, of sort of having to defuse a bomb, it seems like there was a bit of a theme when it comes to some sort of early PlayStation titles. Because there was a game called Suzuki Bakihatsu, which is all about a schoolgirl in Japan who has to go around defusing bombs, but in like very ordinary day objects. I think she starts defusing a bomb from an orange, and it gradually gets more and more intense. It's very, very amusing game. I implore anybody who's interested in bomb defusal games to.
That sounds up my alley, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. This is unskippable. You can mash every button you want. Can't skip it, but this music video is so good that we tend not to really care.
Yeah, why would you want to skip it? It has got incredible style, this game.
Definitely. And here's where I can start talking about some version differences with the DS version. So like I said, a DS version released about 10 years after this. And that version is in English, but there are some other changes, and one of them is, for some reason, there's an opening music video that we didn't see, obviously. But here's the main one that you always have to see in the game. And they changed the music for that, and I don't know why. It must be maybe some licensing. So this track actually does not appear in the DS version. The music video itself, like all the visuals, are the same. And here we get the intro, all the characters. Admittedly, it's a bit crunchy on the small DS screen. But the PS2 version is much better looking. Which is kind of to be expected. It, of course, sounds better. Sundance, huh? Hey, Tokyo, that guy seems familiar. I'd like to think that this music video, besides these character introductions, maybe they're playing, maybe it's like a commercial advertisement, or maybe they're playing in, Sumio's room. Oh, and if you're confused now, it only gets believe me, you haven't seen half of this game.
So is this also something that can you skip this in the DS version of the game?
Nope.
Or
You have to watch it every time. Yeah, it
and even because there are new game plus sort of different variations of this run, even on a new game plus save file.
There is a new game plus. It's not quite a thing on the PS2 version, and granted, I'm the only one that does runs on PS2 because I own the version and my PS2 can play it. There is a variant that Nate, Sylvan Ed has done, but unfortunately, nope, you can't skip this.
Wow, incredible! It's obviously a crucial part of the story.
I mean, they're welcoming us to Flower, Sun, and Rain. How many games like this, could you truly feel welcomed if you didn't get this music video?
Phenomenal. I love it.
And since we, of course, have more time to kill, the DS version is serviceable. I've done runs of that as well. In fact, a big inspiration for that was, like I said, Nate, Sylvan Ed, and a Weed Eater, a more recent runner. And that's the reason why I decided to push the PS2 version as well. I was sort of, earlier this year, I was running them side by side, so to speak. I would alternate between them. And the DS version, it's in English. There's no English PS2 version. Unfortunately, there is no English patch for it either. I've spoken with a few people who say that, yeah, an English patch would be a bit hard, almost impossible with this game for the PS2 version, so.
Because there are some people who've put in incredible work for putting English patches of Japanese, especially PlayStation 1 games together. I've seen recently a game called Aconcagua, which is PlayStation 1, and then one that I'm very interested in, which the name is complete. I think it's sort of Racing Lagoon. Yeah, there's an incredible side of the community who do that, and it's interesting that, well, it's just great that we can get more sort of universal love for these games because they're pretty neat.
Music video's done. We're now up to the first real request. So we were on the prologue request 00. This is request 01. Starting off with the classic Gymnopédie, number 1. That is a piano piece, or piano suite by Eric Satie. And if you played Killer 7, you will also recognize, not this track, the one right after this. And every morning we start off with a phone call. Yep. And telling us about breakfast. And I think this is very relatable when you're on a vacation of sorts. You fall out of bed. You don't want to get out of bed. And here's Sumio doing its best Dale Cooper, having some coffee.
Has to be done.
Yep, so this music is Gymnopédie number 1. Plays actually where Edo shows up in Killer 7, and I'm sure you can think of a lot of other games that might use this piece of music. But wait, we can't leave yet. We can't go to the airport. Can't even leave our room. We turn around. And suddenly we're not in our room anymore. It's very, very surreal intro. And we look into this small peephole, so on the left is Sue, she's a maid. And on the right is Sister Phantom. And according to Sister Phantom, this is a sealed space. And what that means is a sort of spirit has possessed our room, causing us to be sealed in. So we need to find the secret of the sealed space, I know. Starting off with something very strange. I think Fever Dream is not an inaccurate way of describing this game. They're telling us to look around a bit. So this game is rather scripted, so if I'm talking to someone or something, I have to do it. You can't skip steps. So I do have to interact with that chair and that camera. And then come back here, and Sister Phantom has abandoned us. He is apparently scared of the sealed space. And you can see a lot of this is just a lot of heavy mashing. I'm actually glad I discovered that one bit about, L1 and R1 also functioning as confirm. It's just a little bit easier on the hands.
Yeah, I was going to mention, because it's mainly, if it was, you said it was O, the circle.
Yes, it was just, I thought it was just circle, but now I'm sort of alternating between each of them. And if I say I need to, take a sip of water, I can at least mash with, say, L1 on my left hand, and then I'll do that now. Mash with L1 on my left hand, take a sip of water.
It's important, everyone. Got to stay hydrated.
So Sue took a small nap, but here she's talking about, maybe the guidebook. So earlier, when we visited Edo, we got a guidebook, the Lost Pass guidebook, which has answers about all the puzzles in the game. It's supposed to be some sort of guidebook, describing the island. It's actually really neat, but we actually never have to look at it because I know all the solutions, or rather, I have it all written down on my notes, very extensive notes, which I sometimes forget to read, but what can you do? I think she breaks... Oh, yes?
Speaking of the guidebook, somebody's asked whether you have a physical Lost Pass guide.
Oh yeah, so it's called the Lost Pass, like I said, and I don't own that. It's pretty expensive. It's a little rare. It's like a physical version of the guidebook you get in this game. But
that's cool.
The cool thing is that someone has scanned it, both the Japanese version and there is a fan translation in English, which I have poured over many times, and it is very good. So yeah, you can find them online. It's very interesting. There are a lot of details that never come up in the game. Alt. Nice notes. Okay. So this is a long one. So some puzzles are maybe two numbers. And this one is, I believe, 9. Yep. So normally you would have to look into the guidebook. You have to see you have to find the page in the guidebook relating to these objects. In this case, it's relating to the camera that we look at. But we never look at Catherine in a run. There's no need to. Thus, we have unsealed the space. We have sort of exorcised the spirit that was sealing the space. And now we can leave. And here's Sue, telling us, good job. We've exorcised this sort of restless spirit. And I don't know what Sister Phantom did, but we'll just give her credit. I'm not sure exactly what she did.
Imagine moral support, maybe.
And a lot of mashing. Speaking of the guidebook, I do want to say that there are so many details. It's a very detailed book. Suda and his team went all out and fleshing out the nature of this island, even if none of it comes up necessarily in the game. One of my favorite bits is that the highways we were driving on, they actually have names. So the two main highways are the Lost Highway and the Past Highway, which makes sense because this is Lost Pass Island, Lost and Past. But that means we are driving in. I believe we're driving in on the Lost Highway. For any Lynch fans out there, and I get a kick out of that. All right, and this is Edo telling us, "Hey, where are you? The airport is waiting. You gotta help us with our terrorist problem." Give a few final words to Sue here. Alright, and let's just have a nice view of our balcony.
He had to grind for that view.
Oh. Well, anyway, so there's a subtle, it's not quite as extensive as the previous Suda 51 game, the Silver Case, which has been mentioned before, but there is a bit of a sort of a dual storyline thing going here. So this is Toriko. She is a young woman. She's also on this, in the hotel, and that's her pet. And we need to chase after it.
Oh no, it's got out.
And this is, in this category, this is the one time we actually physically controlled Toriko, as in, like, movement control. Yep, I'm actually moving her. And in this category, this is the last time. This is the last time we do it. So it's a bit of a dual. In practice, it's you could say it's like, rather than a 50-50, it's more like a 80-20. But she is a significant character. So that's Chris, her pet crocodile, her pink pet crocodile.
Honestly, style icon. I would not have thought of adding a pink crocodile into this game. What a guy.
And we passed by a guy with an eye patch. His name is Sundance. And according to Toriko here, he is a very evil man. Which is, you know, I guess, what can you expect? He has an eye patch. He actually
typically comes with the territory.
He shows up in the manual to the first game, actually, to the Silver Case. He doesn't show up in the Silver Case, he shows up here.
Oh. All tying it up.
Okay, and Edo has a brief thing to say at the end of each chapter. Fortunately, on the PS2 version, this version here, you can actually skip past like all of the end chapter Edo things. Whereas on the DS version, you have to mash a bit more. Which is kind of annoying. The DS version is faster because the load times are a bit faster. But it's weird that for when you get to that sort of save screen, then you have to do a lot more mashing. It's a weird choice.
Interesting. Are there any more like trade-offs like that vary between
in terms
the two
of time, that's one of them. Like the load times being faster on DS, but the save screens being, you know, slower on DS. Other than that, it's mainly just the audio-visual fidelity thing.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so we're awake again, and we had a weird dream. This plane exploded. I'm not sure if you saw that dream too. And Edo called us and wants us to get back down and solve the terrorist problem, finding that bomb. But now he's calling us, and there's this eccentric Frenchman we will find out. This is Stéphane Charbonnier. He is an eccentric French engineer, and he wants us to do him a favor, which is to find his bag. His soccer ball bag. And I guess we're a searcher, we find things, so.
Can't think that you could just go to the shop and, you know, get a new one. Maybe there's sentimental value.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, now we can actually leave our room. Oh, there's the bag, but the maid lost control of her cart.
Oh no.
So we still can't make it downstairs to get breakfast. We still can't make it to the airport. We have to solve this problem first. And this is Maddie, the maid. We're seeing if she's okay. She's okay, but alas, her cart is in the way, so we can't get down. And we still need to help Stefan. And that's the bag, and we ask Maddie here to put the bag in Stefan's room for us. And Edo is up on the roof now, so we'll go up and meet him on the roof. And the title of this chapter is Air in G by Bach. And here it is, Air in G.
Oh, it's a very smart looking hotel. Very, very lavish. I wonder how much a night it would be to go there.
All right, we get a phone call, and this is Stefan again, and he's not happy with us because we promised that we would drop off the bag, and yet Maddie was the one who dropped off the bag, so... This guy, he is eccentric, though, so I guess that's his thing. And now he's giving us a sort of challenge, and he... La vita continua. So now we have to ask, what does that mean? And this is Yayoi Hanayama. She's a sort of aloof woman. We find her mostly on the roof. And we ask her, do you know what this means? Find out that it means life goes on in Italian. Nice ringtone. And of course, it's Stefan again. And we're getting introduced to a big thing with Stefan. And that this all relates to, this is apparently like a sports reference. This is a soccer analogy. Because he's an engineer, he's trying to show us how the game works. And he's using sports analogies to do that.
Okay. I'm a little clued in on what we call this side of the pond football, so...
Oh, right. Oh, and now we're getting into a big thing with it. I've done it twice. So it's in Japanese, obviously. I cannot read Japanese, and I hate to admit it, but a common mistake is that I simply don't... Sometimes I'm just mashing, I'm not thinking. And if I finish a conversation, I'm still just mashing. So right there, I made the common mistake, which is I talked to the character again when I didn't have to. When I'm running the DS version in English, I can read along even if I'm mashing. But I can't really do that nearly as well on the Japanese version. I sort of know what most of the conversations, like, oh, I know this is a long one, this is a short one, but sometimes just go on autopilot. In most cases, though, it's more an embarrassing mistake as opposed to a major time mistake. It feels bad than actually, it feels worse than it actually is. And here's Edo telling us more about sports history. I'm not really a sports guy. I'm not a soccer/football guy myself, so. But life goes on. Apparently, a famous sports player said that when he lost. And we're going back to Yayoi to confirm those details. Okay, I'm gonna focus here and make sure I don't mash it too much. Here they're talking about, I think, what's like soccer positioning. Again, it's over my head. Even if it wasn't already in Japanese, it'd still be over my head.
I was about to say, do you know how the conversation pans out on the DS?
Yeah, for the most part. I know the script broadly. I can explain what's going on for the most part. Okay, keep mashing. Okay, good. I did not mash too much. So now they're leading us to, we've been told where Stefan's room is, which is what he wanted. Where his bag is, and he left us a clue. So of course, we have to go down there. Like I said earlier, this game is very scripted, so you saw me go back and forth, and this game is, a huge bulk of it is going back and forth between characters and talking to characters, along with solving puzzles. So every single character I talk to, every item I have to examine, I have to do. Even if it seems like you should be able to just, walk past somebody, you can't. And here is his soccer ball bag, which, truth be told, I think a sphere is like the worst shape for a bag, but it's neither here nor there.
I was about to say, I would be a little suspect seeing that sort of thing, especially with, well, I know it was in a dream, but with the bomb scare at an airport.
On the DS version, it's weird. They still call it a ball, but it's like weirdly pentagonal. It has edges to it. It's very weird.
Oh.
I didn't say it earlier, but anybody who's played No More Heroes would recognize that sound effect.
I have a feeling I understand why the code used there was the code that was used there. Because 3-4-1-2 is actually a football formation. There we go. We learned today.
You didn't even have to look at the Lost Paths guidebook. And a big thing, this game plays with the fourth wall, like a lot of the Suda51 games do. It's part of like the sort of surreal nature of a lot of its games. And so what Stefan is teaching us here is, oh wait.
I love.
Nice kick.
Oh my goodness, the multiple.
I know.
That's
my favorite. One of my favorite tricks. That's not the first time, or that's not the last time the game does that sort of. It's like a good action movie. You show that the action from several different angles.
Incredible.
Yeah, like I was saying, Stefan is one of the characters that freely talks about game flags, about game mechanics, and whatnot. And we're playing as Toriko again, or rather, we're mashing buttons as Toriko again, and we're still finding Chris.
Chris is just still strutting his stuff. Not a care in the world.
Yep, and this is where Maddie refers to her as Ms. Kusabi. And Kusabi is a name that anybody who's played the Silver Case would be familiar with. It's funny because they mention her name later, like her last name later, but like Maddie saying Ms. Kusabi, one line already gets anybody who's played the Silver Case, which you should before this game, would already get, their senses, they're opening up their eyes, what's actually happening here. And next day, so this is actually one of my favorite chapters, but unfortunately, there is a major problem with it, and we'll get there when we get there. But the main theme of this is From the New World, the Dvorak Symphony. And like every day, once again, we had a weird dream about a plane exploding. Ed was going to tell us about breakfast yet again.
It is the most important meal of the day.
And we trip yet again. So I guess if it wasn't obvious enough, we're in a sort of a time loop right now. Hence why we keep seeing the plane. And Suda has mentioned some of his inspirations for this game. And he actually doesn't necessarily reference the obvious one, which would be Groundhog's Day. He actually mentions that apparently that his inspiration for this sort of time loop was an episode of The X-Files that had a time loop.
Huh. strange.
That's one of the inspirations, but I found it interesting that he referenced the X-Files thing specifically. And here is...
Yeah, it's very...
Okay,
very
we're going
specific.
down, and there is a masked wrestler doing some squats in our way. Feverishly doing squats. And Edo doesn't know what to do here.
Yeah, he is certainly not phased. He is... man's got to do squats.
So that is El Crasher. And he is feverishly squatting here. And it really wouldn't be a Suda 51 game without references to wrestling. Unfortunately, I'm not a wrestling guy either. So to me, wrestling starts and ends with Suda 51. So maybe some people in chat will have a better understanding. And he wants us to, Edo wants us to go to his room and see if we can find the clues. So here is why this is both one of my favorite and least favorite. So in this room plays the theme, from the New World, the Dvorak. But we only have to talk or, interact with these two things. That takes about, 10, 20 seconds. We leave, we never get to hear the main theme,
no.
Which is so unfortunate because, I will go as far to say that, that's probably one of the best tracks in the game. And this game has a phenomenal soundtrack. But it's a delightful arrangement of the main theme from the New World, and we never get to hear it.
That is the common cruel reality of speedrunning. All of the best parts of the game gone. Oh, that's so sad.
So that's one of the double-edged swords, but otherwise this is one of my favorites because we are going to go up to good old Edo McAllister on the roof. We're going to ask about El Crasher. We're going to find a bit about his backstory. And it turns out, if I could get to him, that he is training. He is feverishly training. He got in his head that he needs to train, he wasn't good enough. Admittedly, I'm a little fuzzy on some of these details, but Edo is telling us about how there was this great wrestler on the island called El Soulfight. And he's talking about how there's this current wrestler called Mr. Pirate, who is the mentor to El Crasher. And it turns out Mr. Pirate and El Crasher are one in the same. There's a lot to this. There's a lot of wrestling history here between them. I can't do it justice. You should play the DS version, but
these are some great names.
So we need to get in contact with Mr. Pirate, also known as El Soulfight, in order to help El Crasher sort of find what's wrong with him. And even though Sumio questions, where are the ethics of telling me where El Pirate's room is? El Soulfight, like I said, he was a big deal. He goes under the name Mr. Pirates because if everybody knew he was necessarily El Soulfight, then there would be riots, but it's kind of an open secret. And once again, we walk into this room, but we will not get to hear the full theme. And it's once again a shame. So we could, dial the phone normally, but that's too easy, so we're going to use Catherine. Yeah, I was wondering how many people have played the DS version before. The Catherine scene looks very different across the versions. And you can use the touchscreen on the DS version, obviously. You don't have to, though. You can play the whole game on DS without using the touchscreen. And now we're talking to Mr. Pirate.
So these numbers that we've seen you inputting, are they all predetermined?
Yes.
Like you know
Yes,
what they're
they're completely set. There's no randomization.
Nice. I imagine that makes your life
Thankfully.
a lot easier. It gives you a, some peace of mind.
especially in when you're playing a game in a language that cannot read or speak.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, I have notes before me. I'm using this actually a really neat little old little widget for live split, which is called Split Notes, which shows me the specific a specific portion of the splits for a given given split, a given chapter. So I have the specific notes for request 03 here. So when I split it,
nice.
Scrolls to the next bit. And this is Mr. Pirate. Another masked wrestler in good old Suda 51 fashion.
Oh, he wants some action.
Yeah, he's always prone and ready. I like to think that if anybody here is familiar with Mega 64, I always thought that these guys would be like perfect Mega 64 gags. Like you have one person standing around just with a wrestling mask, just doing their squats, and then you have this guy standing around. He's just hopping.
Bobbing up and down, yeah.
And Mr. Pirate, he's very wordy. He's honestly, he sounds. I guess you could say he talks like a pirate in the DS version. I cannot do it justice, so I'm not going to try and say what he says in the localized version. But he's essentially saying that we need to help El Crasher find his sort of drive again. And there's an article in the guidebook, which we will not be looking at, talking about it. So we have to put in, I forget what the number is specifically, but it relates to El Crasher. Oh, and I have to point this out. So El Crasher, El, the Crasher in Spanish. But, and I've been told this is the same way on the Japanese version too. They refer to him as, as El, like, hey El, how's it going? Oh, El, we need to help you. Never mind the fact that essentially what he's saying is, hello, we need to help you. It's... but I've been told, like I said, it's apparently the same in Japanese and in English, so I view it as more of a cute little, like a character quirk, as opposed to say, oh, they don't know how Spanish works. Oh, and this is one of the most iconic parts of the game.
Ooh.
Yep. The three angles.
Wow.
We got to see Sumio get knocked out in 3 different ways.
Poor guy.
We were able to snap L out of his fury.
Oh,
he's still. Yep, he's
Still there. He's still doing it. Oh, can't catch
So
a break.
he's still squatting, but we were able to get him. He's back with us. He's no longer in his fervor. And these two are, of course, they are now, they're sparring. They sort of have their drive back.
I'd say you say sparring, but it looks like they're just full on slapping
Yeah,
each
it's
other.
all relative. Yep, in good old Suda 51 fashion. Talk about wrestling spirit there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the stream, so anybody tuning in now, this is a Suda 51 game, and for a developer known for their very eclectic, genre-busting games, this is, I feel, one of the most eclectic. This is one of the most conceptually out there games. And that's part of why I love it. Makes it a bit of a hard sell at times, but there's a lot of meat to this game. Once again, playing as Toriko. Oh, and Chris is going down the stairs. You'll notice that as Sumio advances, Toriko advances. Much the same way. And here, she's able to have a conversation with L Crasher. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned it, but this track playing is Gershwin, Someone to Watch Over You. That really won't come into play, like the reason why they chose that track right now, or rather at all in this category, but it's sort of a very, very smart little bit of foreshadowing if you recognize the title.
I'm very impressed that the characters in that little sequence there kept eye contact. She was really following where he was going with those squats.
I think part of it too in that case, it's because, well, you would assume that Toriko, she's a young woman. I believe she could be 16, maybe 18. I think she's still a teenager, but, and a lot of characters, they sort of treat her that way, but it's clear that, she's pretty much aware of everything that's going on. Like, she is very on top of things. And unfortunately, like I said, we won't see it in this category, but she actually plays a pretty big role early on. So the fact that she is seemingly one step ahead of everyone, albeit in her own sort of light way, is a big deal. We trip again. Once again, doing our best Dale Cooper here. Anybody here like Twin Peaks? Anybody here see any parallels? We're a sharply dressed guy in a suit. We came in our car talking about ourselves. Oh, that's right. She is in high school. That's true. Just can't remember if they gave a exact age, but yeah, we're a guy. We like coffee. We're wearing a suit. We're meeting all of these eclectic characters while ostensibly we're meant to be solving a crime.
Is that something that the developer said they got inspiration from, or it just seems like I don't know, the parallels are there?
Oh, Suda is he's mentioned David Lynch all the time. There are so many Lynch bits, I said, like Lost Highway. There's the Lost Highway in this game, and that's a great movie by Lynch. And here's our next thing: we cannot go downstairs. That is Maria, and she's blatantly drunk. She's talking about she needs to kill the vampire. Well, she needs a weapon. So, of course, now we need to go to the next place available, which is the bar. And we've talked to this gentleman, and this is Stéphane Charbonnier. We've only spoken to him on the phone, and we get to meet him in the flesh, so to speak. And he's still as eccentric as ever in person. And this chapter in particular, he's really heavy about, this is a game here. I will. In fact, he almost all but literally says in a later conversation in this chapter, I'm going to set a flag for you. And that's what he does. He sets a game flag for you. He does nothing else. He gives you no information besides setting the flag for you.
What a
I know. And with that, we are talking to the bartender. This is Stuart Locke. And he apparently is familiar with Maria there. So now we need to make her a drink. But as it turns out, he actually doesn't know how to make a drink. Despite being the bartender, no one's ever asked him. He can do the shake, but he doesn't actually know how to make any of the drinks. Fortunately, the guidebook, like every single other answer, has information on cocktails. And it turns out there is a cocktail called the Silver Bullet. And, you need the Silver Bullet. She was talking about killing vampires. What better weapon than a Silver Bullet cocktail?
Well, when one is away on excursions at a fancy hotel like this, one could do with a Silver Bullet, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, she must be on vacation too. I'm not sure what she's running from. Maybe she has a stressful job. Okay, and I'm not a bartender myself. I'm assuming this is not how one makes a drink in real life. But
I did work as a bar back, so a guy who sort of has to clean all the glasses and stuff. And I can confirm that you do need to replace batteries on your Catherine so that you can do cocktails. This is all very accurate.
Who knew?
You just don't get
all connected.
You don't get to see
All
it
connected.
when you're at pubs.
You knew
Yeah.
exactly what was going on here.
They're giving off trade secrets in this game. I was waiting for someone to do it, and here they are.
Of course, she of course liked the drink, but she wants to talk to us again. Meanwhile, you can all enjoy the track playing right now. It's more Gershwin. The track's wonderful. And that, unlike in the last chapter, we actually get to hear a good bit of the main theme. Okay, we walk up to her now. What does she want? Alright, well, she's still drunk. But now she wants the feeling of August. She wants the fall feeling, the feeling of August. So of course, we have to make her another cocktail.
Yeah.
We don't get to make this cocktail, but there's a cocktail in the guidebook called the Grasshopper, which I think is appropriate for a developer like a Grasshopper manufacturer. And there's a bar in No More Heroes called Bar Plastic Model, which is based on a real bar, actually. It's actually a bar in Japan. So, Suda has likes to drink, of course. A lot of people do. I think that's one reason why it's, in this game too. But there's apparently a cocktail called the 51 that he had a friend, his bartender friend make at Bar Plastic Model. Like a what? It's like a cocktail made with oolong tea, stuff like that.
Okay. I'm loving all these bits of lore and all the different tie-ins. This is brilliant. Really enjoying
Yeah,
this.
I'm the Suda 51 guy, or a Suda 51 guy. So I have done my research. All right, so here we are making the August cocktail. And so I've never made a mistake on any of these puzzles. I've gotten close, but it does waste a lot of time. So you do have to be careful here, and I've gotten close a couple times. Because if you fail any of these puzzles, you have to see, the break, your, no hit screen, and then you actually have to do the Catherine invocation again. And you'll also have to deal with the character saying, giving you the hint. So it's a pretty big time loss, especially when you are playing very well. And gosh, I don't know. So my main running was earlier this year, where I was running both the DS version and the PS2 version. I was swapping between them. Gosh, I must have been hitting all the slots there, because in my practice for this run, I was wasting time, and I could never figure out why, even if I was, not making too many mistakes. So yeah, you really need to save all the time you can, because I don't know, got really lucky. I was well in practice. That's why I'm a little bit of a stickler for mashing. When I do runs of this game, I tend to be, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I don't beat myself up too much, but I always point out little flaws, and I always point out, oh, that mashing, it could have been better. Oh, it was good here, so. Anyway, Maria has sobered up. But she wants to help us with something. She wants to help us with her computer. Which is okay, fine. I mean, we're supposed to be helping a terrorist situation, but we actually cannot go to her room yet. So here's what I said was going to happen earlier. We need to talk to Stefan again. And quite literally, the only thing he really does here is set off a game flag. He literally says, "I will set off a flag for you," and then we have to run to Maria's room. Yep, and they're... Oh, okay. I'll give him more credit. He does say, go to room 407, but still. You think Maria could have told us that?
Wow, what is a fourth wall, hey?
Alright, so we are going to help Maria's problem. So I think after we help Maria, I think that'd be a good time for a break here.
Awesome, sounds good.
Because we can't tell Maria, hey, let us go. There's a terrorist situation, but nope. We have to help the problems of these quirky citizens. Or I guess quirky guests. Oh, go up, right. Okay, so I want you all to look at this computer because, gosh, have any of you ever seen a computer like this?
We did have a strange computer earlier on, so...
And just talk about old-fashioned.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, maybe Suda used those computers back in the day? Okay, so we invoke
Maybe.
Catherine, except Mr. Pirate overheard us and thinks he can do it better.
Oh no.
And thus he invokes his own Catherine. Or I guess his own version of the Catherine invocation. That's the only time it happens. It's so random, but so good, so funny, when you can actually read it. Alright, we're on our personal computer. There's a virus with our computer, and we fix it as one would do by connecting our partner to it, or something.
Huh. Yeah, of course.
And I don't think we solved it.
Oh dear.
Where did Mr. Pirate go? Oh, what? Well, that may or may not have happened, but still. So it turns out that Maria, in fact, wanted that to happen. She wanted us to break her computer because she was unable to take a break from her job. She wanted us to break her computer so she could finally relax and get away from her job. And what's her job? Well, turns out she's an angel. And angels are also being affected by the IT revolution. Remember, this game came out, 2001. And I'll let this speak for itself.
What?
That is my favorite. That's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, end of a chapter.
Oh my
And here,
goodness.
let me just finish up this last bit with Toriko. Then I think we'll be primed for a nice break. So we're still chasing after Chris. And here's Maria, but she is, of course, sobered up. She's only drinking milk.
Nice, being responsible.
And there you have it, Request 04, one of my favorites, really. All right, I think we are good for a nice break now.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for that first part of Flower, Sun and Rain. Everybody, we just like to have a wellness break every so often, make sure that we're all in good condition, we're all stretched, we're all hydrated, so we are going to be taking just a little bit of time away from this run, but we will be back for the rest. So stick around and enjoy the music as we get ready for the rest of this run. Alrighty, hello everyone, welcome back. We are halfway through our Flower, Sun and Rain run on this GDQ hotfix. If you have just popped by or you don't know what happens on these hotfixes, this is the travel speedrun show, I like to call it. This is going places. We have a look at games that we take on our travels, on handhelds, as well as games in far off locations that we might not have seen over on our different parts of the world. And we are currently in Japan. We are having a look at Flower Sun and Rain, which is a Japanese exclusive PlayStation 2 release, which Adrian has been taking us through masterfully. But before we go on to that, I'd like to remind everyone that we have a highlights channel, and as well as that we have an Instagram. I believe we have a TikTok where you can have a look at sort of highlights from various hotfixes throughout the week. And yeah, that's what highlights are. So you can have a look at us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok. And to keep these running, to keep our hotfixes going, that's where your subs, your Prime gift and gaming subs, gift subs, and bits, those cheered onto the channel go on to making these hotfixes happen. And if you have anything that you can spare that you'd like to put forward to keeping these going, then that would be phenomenal. But we're here for some more Suda 51 action. Adrian, you can take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Adrian VG, and continuing the run of Flower, Sun, and Rain, we are ostensibly supposed to be finding the bomb in an airport, but we keep getting sidetracked by a bunch of strange other guests at this hotel. And before I count down to begin again, just want to point out, this track is actually different in the DS version. There is no like vocals for the save screen track. They had to remove it because it contains the vocals from the main theme, which they removed from the DS version, which is a shame because this track is very good, as is the intro. Anyway, got that version difference out of the way. Gonna count down. 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Yeah.
Good luck.
So this is request number 5. This is the Escape Hotel Premises speedrun. So we are not beating the full game. This is a little bit under half of the game, but it ends elegant and at an elegant place. So we will actually get up to request 7 and only do part of request 8. We will not finish request 8. The run will end before that part. During your customary phone call with Edo, calling himself breakfast. We don't want to get out of bed, and yet we have to.
Another stumble, yep.
Having yet another cup of coffee.
Poor guy. It's a rough day, a rough way to start the day. Especially as it seems that he hasn't packed any, clothes for the night. He's dressed for the occasion all the time.
Where's the suit?
If duty calls,
especially since we're
there.
On an island paradise, I can't imagine that would be like. He's probably like sweating bullets right now.
Oh, poor guy.
All right, so that's Maddie. We don't need to talk to her yet, but we finally get to make it to the bottom floor. We might finally make it to the airport. Spoilers. Yeah, that's not going to happen, everyone. So what's happening down here? Edo is waiting for us. The dream of breakfast and getting to the airport. Our last not to be. The doors are being covered or blocked by 2 large speakers. And Edo is informing us, hey, please talk to the gentleman to our right. Okay. So these are the Balboa brothers. They are entertainers, they're actors. And what better theme for a duo of entertainers than Joplin's The Entertainer?
Oh, poetic.
Normally something this on the nose for a music choice. I don't know, I'd be maybe shaking my head, but it's just, I can't help but respect it right now.
It's a very good track. It is a very good song.
So there's a lot here, but essentially they were, they're coming to this island for a vacation. And their speakers, you see those giant ones, they are apparently also boats. They can transform between speakers and boats. And as they were going, traveling on a boat to this island, they lost their identification papers, so now they can't actually prove who they are. So we need to help them. And we find out from Edo here that he is, in fact, actually a big fan of the Balboa brothers, but he is a professional. We need to be able to figure out how to prove who they are. And of course, Sumio is, as a professional searcher, as a professional himself, he understands. And we have to talk to Edo twice here. There are a few times where we have to talk to someone twice in a row. Actually, that happened, I didn't mention during the last request, where we had to talk to Locke more than once in a row. It doesn't happen too often, but you have to watch out for it. So Edo suggests that we talk to Yayoi, Miss Hanayama. If you remember her, the aloof woman on the roof. And the game has been easing us into it, but this is a chapter where the game really starts making you run around the hotel, and eventually you'll be running across the whole island when you get to the end game, which we won't be seeing in this category.
You mentioned that the doing all of the different tasks, that's a 5-hour affair. Is that something that you've done?
I've actually done the full game run, all requests, 5.5 hours. So
wow.
This is, like I said, this is the Escape Hotel premises. This is about just under 2 hours. You will not have to see me run around this island for 5 hours.
Wow, does it get sort of progressively harder as you go on, or is it fairly sort of much the same of what we're seeing here now?
It's essentially, with a few exceptions, it's essentially the same but more, which is to say, get used to watching Sumio's running animation. Because it's a lot of running back and forth. In one chapter, oh thanks Yayoi, don't do anything evil now. In one chapter, we literally have to run out into a field to talk to a man. Then we have to run back to the hotel, only to run back out into the field, to run back out into the hotel. Then you do have to do it again, at least once or twice. So This game is very much, I guess you can say there's a lot of friction to it, which is wholly intentional. And that's kind of the point. It's meant to be, we're on an island paradise, but there's that sort of that friction against you, that seediness, that underbelly to it. That sort of idea of, what is paradise? What is escapism? Those sort of elements. It's apparent in a lot of Suda51's work. And this is one of the... this is such an early work in Grasshopper Manufacture history. You'll see it in, say, No More Heroes. There's a lot about, the word paradise shows up a lot in No More Heroes. And this game, I feel, is, in many ways, No More Heroes takes a lot from this game. The nature of paradise, that sort of friction against the player. It's what makes this game rather challenging, I think. It's a bit of a hard sell. For other reasons as well. But I think that if you really get into it, that's what makes it, a one-of-a-kind experience. Right, so Yayoi gave us a bit of a hint, maybe we should help them show off their acting personalities. Maybe that will help prove to Edo that these are in fact the famous Balboa brothers. And hey, the Tab is the silent guy sitting to the right of Sunny. I think he's called Fast Talking Tab, something like that. But he normally wears a wig. All their stuff, was washed up on the boat, or off the boat. Their boat/speakers. So we're looking for a wig, and Edo suggests, hey, why not use a mop? So, hey.
Nice. Improvise, adapt,
exactly.
and overcome.
I like in the English version, he says something like, Sue, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I need that mop. Like, straight to the point. So we need to figure out a way to detach the mop head. So we have to go up. We have to talk to Maddie on the 4th floor to figure out the hint, figure out how to do that. We get to hear some more sati, some more gymnopédie here, number 1. And so she tells us that there's actually like a step counter of sorts for it after like 10,000 steps, 10,000 revolutions. It detaches, so we have to use that information and use Catherine on the mop. So this game, for those tuning in, is about Sumio Mondo. He's a searcher. We have been hired to find a bomb in the airport, but we keep getting sidetracked. We're on this island paradise, and yet we keep getting distracted by these other problems. And seemingly when we finish solving the problem, we see the plane explode, only to wake up the next day to get told, hey, go to the airport to find the bomb. Okay.
I'm quite amused that from what I've noticed from the sort of like most of the close-ups of our main characters, that he's just very, emotionless. He's just like, oh, another one of these, another task that I've got to do, or why am I here?
And we get very dramatic music here to get this mop. I think part of the reason why they use this music is because in a much later chapter, Sue gives us a very deep and important speech. So it's sort of meant to be her theme, but in context here, it's kind of silly that they're giving us a mop with dramatic music. But I don't know, this is a very silly chapter. So I think it fits, like having such an overdramatic moment kind of makes it funny in and of itself. So okay, we gave Tabs the mop, we gave him his wig. You know, I think I'll buy it.
Hey, that's just fashion, dude.
Hey, I'm a performer myself, and you do what you gotta do. Have to improvise.
Indeed, with style as well.
Of course, now he's a little angry at us. We need to help the speaker problem. We need to get those out of the way. And Sumio is a little bit, we helped him first, and yet that's still not enough. But hey, we're gonna help him. Gonna talk to Edo. And he'll tell us, hey, now you have to solve the speaker problem. Yeah, this game has a lot of really cool details with the camera angles and whatnot. The earlier game, the game before this, the Silver Case, it's like a first-person sort of a lot of walking, like it's like a visual novel, or a visual novel game, on rails. And Suda's talked about, some of the challenges in making this game. They want, wider environments. Right now we have the smaller hotel environments, but the game will eventually expand. And Suda mentioned, the development of this game was rather challenging. Even people on his own team were like, hey, anybody in chat thinking, oh, what is this game? Well, there were a lot of people on his team who were thinking the exact same thing. Like, what is this game? Why do you have so much walking? Suda, he won out and got this iconic game out of it.
Do you know if there was a particular motivation for re-releasing this on the DS? Because it seems like a strange jump to go from PS2 and then 10 years later to put it on the DS. Was there particular? Yeah, do you know what
I don't know. I can only have some assumptions. I think part of it is that it was capitalizing on No More Heroes and Killer 7. Because those games, they were,
Okay.
You wouldn't say they're the biggest sellers, but they are very much, got some notoriety. Here's the cult classic developer Suda 51. Yeah. So the DS version, I think, was meant to capitalize. Again, these are only my assumptions, my guesses. And there actually is some extra content on the DS version. You can actually unlock a costume, various costumes in the DS version, not present in the PS2 version. Ooh. And one of them is of Travis Touchdown, the main character of No More Heroes. So it's mainly,
nice.
I think, meant to capitalize it in that regard, but it was also a strange choice. Anyway, we solved their problem. This is actually one of the more boring endings, I feel. We just zoom out, and we watch the plane explode. It's not quite like Request 4, where somebody literally runs into it, flies into it.
I was about to say, we have had some pretty eccentric explosions previously.
Once again, we're playing as Toriko. The further Sumio gets, the further Toriko gets. And earlier, after we helped them, we got an autograph from the Balboa brothers. Oh, hey, Chris. And Sumio decided to donate it to the hotel. And there you go, there's their autograph. We have 2 more requests left, 2 more full requests, rather. Okay, so here's the funny bit. So Aaron G, an earlier chapter was named that. It's mainly it's the roof theme. Whenever we have been on the roof, Aaron G plays. It's technically sort of a Yayoi theme, and she's a main character in this chapter. But we never actually hear Aaron G when we play this chapter. It's just weird how it works out. It's kind of like how From the New World, that chapter, we never heard much of From the New World.
Interesting. I'm not sure whether somebody had mentioned before, but our main character, he does have pretty big hands.
It's just that's just how how it all worked out.
It is interesting proportions. Okay.
Yeah, this was their first game where they had actual 3D characters. The Silver Case did not actually have 3D characters on screen.
Okay.
So this was something kind of new to them as a team. I know this game it's a bit, it's quite colorful, has a bunch of eclectic characters. It has the same character designer as the Silver Case, Takashi Miyamoto. And Asuda has mentioned that, he was, Takashi Miyamoto, he was mainly known for, more hard-boiled, rougher characters holding guns, stuff like that. More, crime, fiction sort of things. And he noted that, he had to go outside of his comfort zone to create, a bunch of colorful, eclectic characters. There's a book called The Art of Grasshopper Manufacture, released a few years ago, has quite a bit of information, a lot of what I've said, throughout the stream so far. And you can actually see a lot of, you can see the character designs for them. It's actually really neat, especially when you flip between them. You can see, here are the Silver Case characters, or, a lot, harsher, maybe not harsh is the right word, but, more hard-boiled, grittier characters, as opposed to these characters, you have a colorful, we had a woman, a psychic called Sister Phantom. We have these fancy, performers. Very much a break. But still very much, there's still that tension, We're trying to stop a terrorist or a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
All right, so we've left the hotel. We haven't left the premises yet, though. We are still on the premises of the hotel, so the category isn't done yet. And unfortunately, we cannot leave to the hotel. Here is Stefan. He is speaking in more obscure soccer and game references that go over my head, even in English. And this is actually one of the longest conversations. I have to mash quite a bit here. But he's basically pointing out, oh, do you remember the woman on the roof, Miss Yayoi Hanayama? Yes, well, what about her? Well, you see, Stefan wants to give us a test. First he tests her, and that in turn tests us. So she has 2 drinks. Given 2 drinks before her for free. And unfortunately, she has chosen poorly. She's chosen the wrong drink. And she passes out. And this to Stefan is what's called sudden death, much like in a sports game.
Okay.
So we have to save her before she suffers from her sudden death. And this is all part of a test. Yeah, he's an eccentric French engineer, and this is apparently what he does when he's on vacation.
I was about to say, if he's doing soccer analogies and he's talking about sudden death, I have suspicions as like if we need to do another sort of couple digit code. Got sort of ideas brewing about what it could be.
All right, now we have to run up and check out how Yayoi is doing. Go back and tell, go all the way to the roof. Oh, and you'll notice this really weird thing. So you always, whenever you enter that door, you always come out from like that door on the right, regardless of if it's actually the door you came up from outside. And same when you're like leaving the hotel. Like you're not, it always teleports you. It doesn't actually teleport you to the right door all the time. They fixed that on the DS version. It's kind of weird. Okay, walking all the way up. So normally RNG would play, and it is ostensibly the theme of this chapter, but because it's all, we're worried about Yayoi, RNG does not play here, meaning we go through this whole chapter called RNG without hearing RNG.
Oh no.
Okay, so this is, I did it again. I said this much earlier in the run, but because I cannot read what's going on here, I know I'm mashing the text, but I can't always tell when the conversation is over. I know which conversations are, for the most part, which are long, which are short, but obviously I don't have like all that individual text boxes memorized, so if I'm a bit too mashy or if I'm just going on autopilot, sometimes I talk to characters again when I don't need to. Sometimes when I'm playing the DS version in English, that happens, but very rarely. It's mainly here because I just cannot read the conversations. Oh, and I haven't even pointed out yet, but the theme here in the lobby is the Ravel's Bolero, and it's another iconic track in this game. Okay, now we're talking to Edo. We're talking about, hey, Stefan. He is not a good guy. We're telling her, go up to Yayoi, see if she's okay. I'm gonna go into Stefan's room and see if there's an antidote. Who has time to read? Yeah, it's a shame we don't get to look at the guidebook. Albeit in this version, the guidebook is mainly text. We don't get to see like the full color version. Mentioned earlier that there is in fact a physical version of the Lost Past guidebook that has all the puzzle solutions. It's very neat, and it has an English translation. You can find the scans online. Alright, so this is Stefan's room. We're gonna see if there is a antidote for the poison. Oh, and hey, Yayoi. Suddenly she's here now. And now Edo is calling us, wondering, hey, where's Yayoi? I thought she said she was on the roof. And no, now she's suddenly here. Somebody moved her. Walk away. And the phone rings again. Dramatic camera movement. So now Stefan is telling us, oh, we're still playing the game of sudden death. This is one of the more intense chapters of this, if not the most intense chapter in this entire category. Not the full run, just the category. He's telling us, hey, to look at his PDA. The solution is in there. You can definitely tell this is a game, in the early 2000s, because he has a PDA.
Very smart looking
This is true.
PDA as well. I know it's 2022 at this point, but I am getting some considerable tech envy from that.
All right, so this is actually one of the longest numbers, if not the longest, it's 10 digits. So I want to be a little careful
Okay.
here.
I would not have guessed it.
Look at that PDA, look at that.
Fantastic.
One. You have 10 digits.
So the way that you're cycling through those digits, is that just something that you're doing on
Yep,
the
I'm doing-
D-pad or on an
I'm doing on the
analog stick?
D-pad. I guess you could do it on the analog stick, but I find the D-pad a little better for that.
Nice, and you're using just a traditional
Yep.
DualShock controller, I guess.
You're playing on an actual PS2.
Nice.
Oh, PS2 Slim.
Is this game a hard one to come across when it comes to, if somebody did have a Japanese capable PlayStation 2 kicking around and they wanted to try this
Oh,
out on
it's-
console?
Been a while since I've looked at the prices. I bought it off a seller that I was already familiar with. And oh, Yo-Yo's fine, by the way. She was just given a sleeping pill. I think she's dreaming about Rocky, at least at the movie. But yeah, so
Interesting.
that was all a test by Stefan. Now, can we handle high stakes? And he also warns us about Edo. But yeah, back to the earlier question. I want to say that the JP version might not be too expensive. I think the DS version in English has increased in price. Yeah, I don't want to give too much
that's
bad
interesting.
information. I know the DS version you can find, albeit a little bit inflated. The PS2 version I think is also not super rare, but maybe not the cheapest out there. Oh, and I love this one. You see the explosion reflected.
No way. Wow.
It's very clever. I do find it funny, and Punchy mentioned, that the whole thing about in the last run before this. Version differences, or rather, console differences. DS versus 3DS. And now Tug and Chat
PlayStation.
mentioning, gotta have the Slim. It's like, listen, I'm throwing I like what Punchy said, everything goes black. Just, you ignore it.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I'm happy that this PS2 can play Japanese games. Anything more specific than that, it's like, more...
I was about to say, not too fussed about finding out whether a 9K is quicker
Yeah.
or a 90K, 70K. Yeah, I've got a Slim kicking about, and as long as it can play the games,
Yep.
good enough for me.
And I'm the only one that runs this game on PS2. Which is fine.
Are there more runners on the DS?
Yes, there have been a few runners over the years. One of the more recent ones is a Weed Eater. They were doing actually something really cool, going through like the main sort of saga of Kill the Past in Suda51's work, sort of all the Kill the Past games, of which this is one of them.
Okay.
So they were doing a lot of cool stuff, running not just this game, but like the 25th Ward, the original Silver Case, Killer 7, No More Heroes. So they're a more recent one. I mentioned Sylvan Ed, who we know is Nate in the community, and my notes are based entirely on his. I've only simply modified them for my purposes, so shouts to Nate for that. And there have been a few other runners here and there. So the DS version, while not like a super active game, it at least has a bit more action.
Nice.
So this is the last full request of the game. And an interesting thing is that there are actually no puzzles in this chapter. No puzzles. But a lot of running around, so I hope you're ready. Yeah, I can understand why not too many people, one, not too many people have even seen this version. I've seen a few people in chat have expressed, surprise at seeing this version, having played the DS version. It's nice. I like to expose people to this game, to this version of the game. El Crasher there, still squatting. And it's also understandable that people would want to play the version of the game that's in the language that they speak. So we have to leave the hotel again, but if I were to try to leave without talking to Edo, the trigger for the door would just not show up. The game will not let me leave unless I talk to Edo here. Okay. And notice I entered or exited this door, and then I'm suddenly at the other door. Like that makes that's the actual door I went out of. It makes no sense to me. And they fixed that on the DS. Alright, so what now? Gotta have the 3 camera angles. Oh, whoa. Camera being weird. Alright, so here's a bratty kid. Jotaro. And he does not like us. And he has the power to break the 4th wall as well. He's pointing out all the different things about this game. He is destroying the aura of mystery. Like he said, he's going, oh, our 2D art doesn't match our 3D models. What's up with that? Like, why are you always wearing a suit, man? Aren't you hot? So we cannot have him break that, so.
He is asking the big questions.
He's asking the wrong question. We can't have it. We can't have this.
So now you are chasing a
So we have
child.
to talk to Edo. We even tell him, hey, dude, he's breaking. He can't do this. I think it's less that he's because it's almost hypocritical for Sumi to say, like, oh come on, don't break the 4th wall. But I guess the real point is that he's breaking the 4th wall in the wrong way. Because Sumi was already talked to the audience like at least twice already. So the issue is that he is not treating the 4th wall like he should. So now we have to walk up and talk to everybody. Fortunately, this game is this request is slightly nice in that the sequence of characters that we talk to here is essentially like ascending. So we have to talk to Sue on this floor. We have El Crasher on the 3rd floor, one above us. Okay, I'm gonna be careful here. There are a lot of triggers nearby. I just don't want to mash too hard. There. Okay, we're good. And of course, we call that kid a brat. We call Shotaro a brat. But apparently everybody likes Shotaro, likes the kid. And El Crasher is not going to put up with us.
Oh no.
But he was kind enough to at least take us up here, and he lost control. He's still squatting. He never stops the grind. I'm trying to remember if they call him by his name, actually. Like, rather, the kid, Shotaro. Most of us only call him the kid because out of disrespect for his brattiness. But Edo calls him, Mr. Kai's boy, so his name is Shotaro Kai. We don't get to meet his father right now in this category, but he does actually show up. Of course, we talked to Mr. Pirate here again. And he is telling us, oh, well, that he's merely looking for the, influence of a woman. Maybe, maybe a more maternal figure. Oh, I did it. Yep. Common issue. Yep, I mashed. So now we go to Yayoi here. And this is also the only chapter where the same piece of music, Children's Corner, keeps playing throughout the chapter. Which I think it's appropriate. This is a very silly chapter, I think. It's pragmatic pacing in that after that very intense chapter, you have something absurdly silly.
We like a little bit of silliness.
I recall for the development of this game that Suda has talked about, that originally they had different team members come up with scenarios in this game, write their own scenarios. But for the sake of consistency, Suda51 himself rewrote everything to make it a bit of consistent voice. But I think you can tell, you kind of wonder, okay, who came up with this idea? Who came up with that? It's all very consistent, but it all works together. You can sort of see some of that just with the sort of swerves that the game gives at you. Okay, and of course, Yayoi, again, coming to the defense. Everyone likes the kid but us. Tells us he's just looking for a friend. Go back to the beginning. By the beginning, that's our room. And the music just never stops.
All part of the experience.
Down, a slightly awkward angle there. And he was hiding in our closet all along.
Oh, the kid really is a brat.
So now we go up to the balcony. He's waiting for us. Turns out, he says his father, doesn't pay enough attention to him. He just wanted to play a game. Oh, he gets all pouty. But of course, he was lying about that. He just likes messing with us. But then he asked the wrong question.
Oh
he asked, what does Flower, Sun, and Rain really mean? And that's the worst question he could have asked. Of course, Sumio now has to end this chapter. He calls, he's cueing the plane. It's like cueing the sun. You just don't do that. And this is possibly one of the only moments where someone actually there are a couple of moments, but in this category, he actually looks at the plane. I guess maybe it's that fourth wall awareness that he has.
Yeah, maybe the only one that realizes it, acknowledges it.
All right, now we go back to Toriko. She's still looking for Chris. This is Toriko Kusabi. She has her own pet crocodile, a pink crocodile. But she better watch out.
The return of Chris. It's so good. I love Chris.
I don't know, the kid could still be there, that bratty kid. Still flinging soccer balls. Indeed, as one does. And one step ahead of everyone.
Oh, what a hit. Wow.
Yeah, meanwhile, he's being a brat. He's being a brat, but, Toriko, she's one step ahead of everyone. She, in her own way, You know, she just takes it, treats him like the kid that he is. Oh yeah, Toriko. Yeah, she has a pink crocodile. She's been looking through it, looking for it the whole game. If you think the pink crocodile is the weirdest thing about the crocodile, well, you won't see it in this category. You should play Flower, Sun, Rain. But we're coming up to the end here. So this is Escape Hotel Premises. This is not a full game run. And in this chapter, we can escape the hotel premises. So we do not complete request 08. So
Good final track. though.
indeed. So we technically don't even hear the Ave Maria, but I'm gonna walk to it just, you know, when the category is over. But yeah, but there you have it. The run is basically done. All we do is just talk to Edo one more time, and then we leave. And that's essentially what a taste of what the game has to offer. This wonderfully eclectic, strange game. This is one of my favorite Suda51 games. I am a Suda51 streamer. I own nearly all of their games. I played nearly all of them, at least the ones that I can sort of get through as best I can, even if they're not in English. But I cannot give this game a straight recommendation, unfortunately. So this game is the second game made by Grasshopper Manufacture. It's not Suda51's first game, but it's as Grasshopper Manufactured. Their second game. And I've been sort of hinting at it, but this game, it directly follows the previous game. And the references are very, very coy. And I've been kind of coy about it myself. But I mentioned, there's a character that shows up in the opening intro. In fact, more than one character in that opening Malcolm video. They show up either in the silver case or its manual. The Yayoi's ringtone earlier, it's a theme from the silver case. It's the main theme from the silver case. Toriko Kusabi, she has the same last name. She is the daughter of another character from the silver case. And in fact, this chapter that we're not completing has a pretty big silver case reference, which I'm not going to give away because we don't even get to see it here. So I cannot give this game a straight recommendation because you have to play the silver case before this game. By the time you get to the end of it, if you don't know the silver case, you will be hopelessly lost. But that being said, if you do beat the silver case, which I think is very good, I highly recommend this game. It's a very strange game, and we're coming up to time here. So we're finally leaving the hotel premises. All right, almost up to time, and time.
GG.
Thank you very much. So there you have it. That's the partial game category. And I have done all the requests, 5 hours. I've considered doing it again, but it's kind of hard to plan for 5 hours. But I'll give you a taste, though. Here's the Ave Maria. Of course, it plays outside a church.
Yep. Poetic.
Oh, whoa, that camera. I've never seen this angle before. Whoa, what did I do? I've never seen this angle before. I broke something. Oh, well. Is it somehow weirdly ironic that it took to the end of the run, literal run end, to say, that's never happened before?
I was about to say, does that mean you're telling me that
this has never happened before? I've never seen this angle before. But yeah, that was fun. Like I said, this is a bit of a hard sell. There have been rumors of a remaster for this game. A few more enthusiastic Suda51 fans say, oh, it's basically confirmed, but it really hasn't. I don't want to get people's hopes up. I'd love there for be to remaster for this game, but gosh, this game is so strange. There's so much running. This game is about friction. It's about it's a paradise, and yet you're sort of suffering against it. You're straining against it, and you need to have to play the silver case before it. But to me, you know, I'm a Suda51 person. This is one of my favorite games. My favorite Suda51 games, favorite games. If you get the chance to play it under the right circumstances, I strongly recommend it. The DS version is in English. There is no English patch for this game. I once did an absurd run where I played the DS version and the PS2 version simultaneously with one controller. Not a speed run, just a challenge run. It's called the Dual FSR playthrough. It's on my YouTube channel. Yeah, if you like this game, I don't stream it too often, but I talk about it all the time. I stream mainly Killer 7, No More Heroes. And yeah, I'd like to thank Hypnotics for inviting me. We've actually been talking for like months about this, and this is finally the day where the longest time. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope everyone in chat enjoyed it. Flower, Sun, Rain.
Yeah.
Done.
I think chat loved it. I certainly loved it, and I'm really glad that we managed to finally get this done and get this on. So, if people were interested on, finding out a bit more about the game, I know you mentioned yourself, but is there a speedrun community? If there was some people who thought, I reckon I can take a shot at this, where might they be able to find a place for guides and notes and?
Yeah, we have a small but respectable community. We have the Suda51 speedrunning Discord, which covers a bunch of games, a lot of games, the No More Heroes games, Silver Case games, this game. Well, this game isn't necessarily too active. We have a good handful of runners. On the speedrun.com page, I have my notes on there, and I was sticking to my notes the entire time. So if you're interested in this game or any other Suda51 games, follow me. Follow the Suda51 speedrun Discord, and shout-outs to them. Shout-outs to Weed Eater, shout-outs to Nate. Oh, shout-outs to Big Man Japan for, selling me this copy of Flower, Sun, Rain. They're a huge person in the community, have done a lot of, archival work. So yeah, just shout-outs to that community as a whole.
That's awesome. And people can find you on Twitch at AdrianVG.
Twitch.tv/AdrianVG. Also have a YouTube channel as well, where I have some other speedruns, and like I said, that very fancy playthrough where I go through both this version and the DS version at the same time.
Awesome. That sounds like an absolute riot. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this GDQ Hotfix. We will be coming up with another Hotfix straight after this. This is going to be that quiz show that we mentioned earlier. This is Think Fast. So do stick around. I'm not sure whether this will be my last hotfix. I've got something coming up, sort of in real life stuff. So if you don't see me on the flip side of September, this has been going places. I have had an absolutely riot of a time. It's been so fun showing off games from, games like this. We had Lego Star Wars games. We've just had a whole crazy amount of different games. And if you want to catch up on any of those are all on the Games Done Quick YouTube channel. I'd like to thank GDQ for having this and Ray for being my producer. Who knows, I might be back after September, but if I'm not, this has been a lot of fun. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We are going to be having Think Fast later on. Hotfixes stay going, and they're good fun, so do stick around. Thank you so much once again,
thank
Adrian.
you. Going to applause.
Yes. Alrighty, everybody. Enjoy the Hotfix show later on.